Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about volunteer firefighters, first responders. My guest is retired Killingworth Fire Chief of 17 years, Fred Dudek. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
Who becomes a volunteer firefighter? Is it because it's in your family? It becomes a person who just wants to give back and save folks? Who is a volunteer firefighter?
It's a little bit of everything you mentioned. Some young folks would give because they need community service through their high school classes. So they would join as a junior firefighter. There's people that get satisfaction out of helping somebody in their worst possible time. And then there's others that are just interested in the medical end of the business. So it could be anybody. And in today's day and age, because of a busy life, we're actually expanding. It used to be a male-dominated profession or career or volunteer. And now we're looking more at inclusion of everyone. Women, we think that, we know that women can do the job. And a lot of the career departments, we're seeing that more women are getting on the force. And we're trying to get that same type of attitude in the volunteer fire service.
So there are, in Connecticut, 300 fire departments staffed by 26,000 volunteer firefighters.
26,000 firefighters and 83% are volunteers.
Wow. You are now doing a program, Everyday Hero CT.
Yes.
And where you're trying to help garner more volunteer firefighters. How's it going?
It is, I would say it's going better than we had originally anticipated. It's gone through in 3 different sessions, we'll say. The first one being that we were trying to determine what was the best way to recruit firefighters. And we looked at traditional methods with friends bringing friends in, signs in front of firehouses, and then we also looked at a marketing end of it from a sales perspective of where do the people come from that volunteer, and that's where we wanted to concentrate on. And then the second session was we wanted to put what we said was boots on the ground. We said, all right, we know now how to recruit them. How now do we actually put the boots on the ground in the departments? And we targeted certain departments. We asked departments in Connecticut to volunteer with us, and we selected 10 or 15, I guess, 15, and we asked them to do things a certain way, and we found out that, hey, it was working. We were bringing in a number of firefighters. Some towns and cities were much more productive than others, but a lot of it is how much you put into it.
It's 24 hours a day.
Oh, yes.
And all these folks have another job.
Yes.
But they're willing to give of themselves. You just got a 45-year pin for being a volunteer firefighter.
Yes.
Give me an example of what a volunteer firefighter goes through. Their life.
Their life. Well, initially, it's very time-consuming. Most departments now in the state of Connecticut will certify their firefighters, which is over a recruit class, over 100 and some odd hours, where they learn the basics of firefighting. They learn hazardous material skills, and that is very time-consuming. It's weeknights, it's weekends, and then it's testing. It's practical skills testing with the state of Connecticut, and then it's a written test. And then when they complete that, they can go to an additional advanced level, of which a lot of people do, most do. And then most departments require their officers to even have a higher level standard of training, so that you have to want to learn. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see in the fire service, is that people are hungry for knowledge, particularly special interests of variations in the fire service.
When you get a call, and you still do,
yes,
45 years later,
yes,
what's happening physiologically to you? You jump in the car, you go, and you don't know what you're going to find.
Right. I think that as I got older, it was more calm. When I was younger, and I'm sure that's the case with many young firefighters, is the blood pressure goes way up. I can't move fast enough. I can't button my shirt at night fast enough and get my shoes tied fast enough. And sometimes they even would drive a little bit reckless because, oh my gosh, it's
trying to save somebody.
Yeah,
maybe,
we're trying to
you know?
potentially to save somebody. And then I think as you get older, the blood pressure probably still goes up, because when my alarm goes off in the middle of the night now, sometimes I think it's the alarm clock, and I'm looking to snooze that thing, and it just won't do it. And then when I realize, oh my gosh, it's a call that I need to go to, then I roll out. But I'm not as fast as I used to be, but I still can get down there and drive a piece of apparatus.
How many lives have you helped save along with your volunteer buddies over the course of 45 years?
Tough question. Fire-wise, structural fire-wise, I don't really know, because a lot of times we get there and fortunately the house has already been evacuated and accounted for. Parents will account for their children. We have had fatalities in my town, unfortunately, in fire. But automobile accidents, I would say, would be the more saves, where we would use the jaws of life and extricate people. And then, unfortunately, sometimes, you know, we have fatalities on the highway as well.
How important are our first responders?
Utmost. Utmost importance, because they give what time that they can afford to give. They leave Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners. They leave the warmth of their homes on the bitter cold January days. So they're of the utmost, I would say, the utmost importance.
And Connecticut cannot do without them.
No, Connecticut cannot do without firefighters. And at this point, we're saying you can't do without volunteer firefighters because of budget constraints. And what we're seeing, a trend is throughout the country and Connecticut as well, they create what they call a combination fire department, whereas they would have paid personnel Monday through Friday from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock perhaps, and then volunteers from 6 to 6 in the evening, and then the weekends.
What's the pride that goes into being a volunteer firefighter? You've lived it for 45 years.
I think the pride of uniform. I'm a veteran of 4 years in the Navy, so I always had worn a uniform, and I was proud of that uniform. And now what we're seeing is the fire service is a paramilitary organization. What we're seeing is many people no longer are in a veteran of the military service. So it's kind of a new thing for them. And I think that their pride in the uniform, their pride in the gear, their pride at award banquets, and pride for the saves, or a CPR save, or a Hearst tool save. So the pride would be whatever the accomplishments are. There's pride just in graduating and being certified as a firefighter 1. So.
What is the camaraderie like when you get a call and you're all out there? You're not thinking about anything, you're just going into mode, right?
Yes.
Give me an example of how that works when you arrive at a house fire.
You're usually under the command of a senior officer or a junior officer, and potentially you could be under command of a senior firefighter until the officers do arrive. But it's I'll simulate it to a choreographed act, that everyone is trained to the same level or above. Some people are trained above certain levels, so that they know what their job is when they get there. That 6 firefighters or 10 firefighters can look at that structure and know what their job has got to be. If there's a command position, someone's going to take the command position. If you're going to need water, someone has to take a water supply position. In Killingworth, there are no fire hydrants. So water is very critical. So water supply is one of the big things that we're known for, and one of the big things that people set up for. So that you just know, you don't even have to say a word. You just know okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what they're going to do, and it's just a large choreographed act.
Speaking of which, let's take a look at what firefighters do in this PSA just nominated for an Emmy.
Can we be real for a minute? I'm a high school math teacher, and I'm a firefighter.
Ma'am, we're going to have you out in just a minute, okay? I'm a designer.
I'm a retired VP in business.
And I'm a student.
I'm a mother.
I'm a business analyst, and I'm a volunteer firefighter.
You thought we just fought fires?
Firefighters get trained to do so many things.
Right here. Be sharp, be sharp.
What we do is serious business.
Alright, someone takes their seats fine. We're going through the pivot. Seat down. Alright.
3/4 of the nation's first responders are volunteers. That includes here in Connecticut. And lately, it's been harder than ever, with fewer citizens volunteering.
From teenage cadets like me.
To seasoned veterans like me.
So what are you waiting for?
You ready to make a difference?
Ready to join our team?
Your community needs you. We need you. Visit everydayheroct.org or stop by your local firehouse today and take the first step of joining your fire department. See you out there.
How big is the shortage in Connecticut?
I don't believe that we're to the point of criticality yet statewide, but many towns have reached critical numbers.
And what happens if there are no firefighters? The house is burned down, correct?
Yeah, we did in our first phase, we did a video. Actually, a UConn student did it for us, and it was, what if nobody showed up? And it's a picture of a firehouse, and the alarm goes off, and the doors never open. And basically, that was the message, that without volunteer firefighters or firefighters, then problems are going to get much, much larger.
What's your message to somebody hearing this conversation about, if they're thinking about being a volunteer firefighter? What would you say to them?
I would say, stop by your local fire station. Generally on a Monday or a Wednesday, and sometimes even 5 days a week in the evenings, there's firefighters there, volunteer firefighters doing something. Stop by, talk to them, see the equipment, ask them the questions. During alarms, perhaps you may want to, it may be in your neighborhood, and you may want to just watch what happens. And then know that there's other things you could do besides fighting fire. You could cook. You could do maintenance on apparatus. You could do IT work. IT work's a big one. I mean, a lot of firefighters just want to fight fire. They don't want to be bogged down with the ancillary work that comes with it. So if we can get people to do some of those jobs, it frees those people up just to fight fire or do medical calls.
We're all working together for the greater good.
Yes, yes.
Fred Dudek, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your service in the Navy and also as a first responder for 45 years. And let's hope we can get you some new volunteers.
I would appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks very much.
Spend all night kissing and the bump is right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm so wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Things keep locked in the grocery store of my mind. Just to save time, skip right ahead to the nice ride.